called Ringo the original rock and roll drummer?
I think so. I mean, personally, you know, some of my introduction to music really was the Beatles. I think I was maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old, and I got the records, and I had this little old guitar, and my mother bought me this book. It was the complete Beatles anthology and chord charts. And so I would put the records on and learn these chords. I didn't have a teacher. The Beatles taught me how to play music. Like, that's how I learned. It was the record and the book and the guitar. And so that just became the foundation of everything that I understood musically from then on, whether it was arrangement or harmony or tempo or melody, whatever it was, it all began there. So, you know, in listening to the drums, I just always, if that becomes your reference point, it just became my reference point for everything. You know, oh, that guy's too busy. You know, oh, that guy doesn't have any groove because I had this in the middle. Like, I had the Beatles in the middle. Like, oh, that guy's not a good singer. Or that song's too long. The Beatles were my reference. Like, that's just how I related to everything else.
It was always your watermark.
It still is.
You've talked about what makes Ringo so special is his swing and his showmanship.
Yeah.
Can you address both of those and how they've influenced you?
Well, I'm one of those guys that, you know, there's a famous old joke. What's the last thing the drummer said before he was kicked out of the band? Hey guys, I have a song I think we should play, you know. And so, you know, like, when I was in Nirvana, the last thing in the world I wanted to do was complicate that songwriting process, because Kurt was brilliant. He wrote great songs, and I looked at what I needed to do in that band as I needed to do what Ringo did in so many songs, which is just lay it down. You know, let the song happen and just lay it down and do your thing. But there was that part of me that, like, I wanted to sing and I wanted to do my own thing. So I would record songs in my basement by myself, you know. And I never really considered myself a showman. And I never really thought I had much swing either. But I think that when I would watch Ringo sing a song or play the drums, it just kind of seemed so effortless because it was coming from a real place, you know. And that to me is sort of what being a musician should be, you know. Not to really force it so much, rather just let it kind of happen, you know. Because that's the idea, I think, is just to be yourself.
What's the Ringo role?
You know, it's the role. It's the one, you know. You just could see it. Like, whenever I try to do it, I look like I'm putting out a fire with a jacket or something. You know? You just sort of flap your arms around, and it just has this, like, roll to it, you know. It's like the perfect accent. When you meet someone and you fall in love with their accent, it's the same thing. It's that roll, you know. It's all over the place. It's great.
I was going to ask you if Ringo does something that you're still trying to learn how to do, but I'm guessing it's everything from what you're...
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea, I think, honestly, you know, when I listen to those recordings, it's funny because to me those recordings they're almost like sonic photographs, you know. With the camera, you're trying to capture that moment in time, and it's the same thing with music. And if you're in a studio and you're recording to tape, you're trying to capture that moment so that it lives forever. The sound of what you did that afternoon after tea will last until the end of time, you know. And so, so capturing those moments seems to be, that's what you really try to do. And I think, you know, like I said, it's all in your hands and it's in your heart. So there's kind of no use trying to sound like anyone else because you just can't. That's the way they do it. And fortunately, that guy sounded the way he did and the way he does. Like, that's him. And without him, we wouldn't be here. And it's nice to be here.
We're happy you're here.
Thank you very much.
What's your favorite Ringo performance?
I like rockers. Like I mean, I love the pretty stuff too. But when I listen to a song like "Hey Bulldog" or some of the heavier ones, those are the ones that just has this groove to it. And I don't know how the hell you got those drum sounds, man. But there's something about them that just sounds so good. I wish I could do that, and it's a lot of those moments where there's air between the fills, and those fills just sort of roll into the next section. That those are things that people spend lifetimes trying to get and capture those moments. And it's not easy.
I read that you really loved the Ed Sullivan performance.
Oh yeah.
Can you talk about how what happened the first time you saw that? Did you feel like it lit a fire under you? Or?
Well, it's a cool thing when you're a human being and you turn on a television and you see other human beings doing something that moves you so much that you want to do that too,